Hello everyone and welcome again to Minimalist Gourmet, where today I'm going to be teaching you how to make the most delectable gluten-free scones you've ever had. Let's get started. To kick things off, let's talk about flour. I happen to be using a mix that is mostly rice flour with a little bit of corn. It's nothing special, it's what the store here in Argentina had. If you're looking for a name brand, I recommend Bob's Red Mill. However, use your favorite flour mix. Whichever mix you're using, go ahead and use 2.5 cups to get things started. Add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. However, if you're using self-rising flour, only add 1 teaspoon. Add 4 tablespoons of white granulated sugar, and go ahead and give this a nice mix before we move on. Next up, 2/3 of a cup butter that is chilled and cut into small cubes. This will make it a lot easier to integrate into the flour mixture. Simply use a fork or a pastry cutter if you have one to slowly integrate the butter into the flour by pressing it down and making a cutting action. You can also use your hands, but just stick to your fingertips as they're cooler and they won't melt the butter nearly as fast. Take the mixture and press it in between your fingers, making a wiping action like this to integrate the butter in with the flour. You're looking for a final texture when everything's integrated to look a little bit like sand or sawdust. If you take a handful of it and squeeze it together, it should take the shape of your hand, however, fall apart relatively easy. This is good. Let's go ahead and move on. For the wet ingredients, we are going to begin with 3/4 of a cup heavy cream. This will add richness and great flavor. However, you can absolutely substitute milk if you want a little bit lower calorie option. I said it was gluten-free, never said it was fat-free. 1 whole egg and 1/2 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Give all your wet ingredients a very thorough mix so they're completely combined before we add them to our dry ingredients. It's time to pour the wet ingredients on top of the dry ingredients. Now, when you're doing this, you're going to want to hold off about a tablespoon or 2 of your wet ingredients in this bowl and set them aside, and I'll explain to you later why that is. Now, when mixing, I like to start off with a spoon and just gently integrate everything together. You do not want to overmix this or overwork it because that'll create a texture that really isn't that nice. After everything just comes together with a spoon, I like to switch over and use my hands as it allows me to feel it and get a very good idea of what's going on. Again, you're looking to just integrate everything together so that all the dry ingredients are wet and everything's absorbed. As soon as your dough ball just comes together like this, it's going to be ready to turn out onto your work surface. Make sure to flour up your work surface so when you put your dough ball down, it won't stick. Flatten the ball out. Okay, fold it from left to right, flatten it out, fold it from top to bottom, flatten it out, fold it from left to right, and repeat this process no more than about 8 to 10 times. This will create a very nice texture by distributing all those layers of butter evenly throughout the pastry. And that's it. Do not work it any more than that. The last step here with this dough is that you're going to gently press it down and flatten it out into an even disc that's about 1 inch thick. When portioning these out, you could use a biscuit cutter if you'd like, but really I do prefer using a knife and a sharp knife at that. By using a nice sharp knife when you cut down, you're going to create those beautiful fluffy layers in the scone that you're looking for. If your knife is dull, you'll kind of crush the edges down and it will prevent them from rising. So just take your time, make one nice straight flat cut with a sharp knife, and you will be rewarded. Using a knife also makes it quite easy to get 8 exact portions from your dough. Place your scones at least 1 inch apart on a nonstick pan or a grease-lined baking dish. With our reserved liquid from earlier, we are going to actually paint the tops of these scones. Now, if you have a pastry brush, go ahead and use it. It works great. If not, you can use a spoon like I did. The cream will brown in the oven and make a wonderful golden and crispy exterior. Also, it's going to give us a nice base to sprinkle on a little bit of sugar and help it stick. So go ahead and sprinkle just a little bit of white granulated sugar over each one of your scones before you put it in the oven. Bake at 425 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes. When pulling them out, you can check for doneness here by looking at the beautiful golden exterior that it has, as well as touching it. You should feel nice, firm surfaces that have no moisture left in them at all. Now, as we can see, because we used a sharp knife, we got a very nice rise in our layers here, as well as a beautiful golden crispy exterior from using the cream and sugar wash on top. That's exactly what we're looking for. Cutting into one of these scones, we can take a look at the interior. The interior, the crumb, or the way the texture is fantastic. It's light, it's even, and it turned out beautiful. Okay, unless someone told you, you wouldn't know these don't have gluten. As well as the exterior turned out nice, crispy, and golden. All there is left to do now is top with your favorite toppings and enjoy. Might I suggest some delicious homemade lemon curd? I just happen to have a video where I teach you how to make this at home. I'll link it in the description as well as the end card. Maybe you're a bit more traditionalist and like butter and cream. I personally really enjoy some strawberry preserves. However you like to top them, I know you're going to love these gluten-free scones. Guys, it is just that easy to make this delicious recipe at home tonight. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you return again real soon for another episode of Minimalist Gourmet.